Hello and welcome to our session today on energy in the body, and particularly today energy in the cells, and looking at energy in the cells in a couple of different ways. So as we talked about, we are bioelectrical creatures. We are living electricity in our bodies. Electricity, motion of electrons between particles, the motion of matter. And we, of course, are made of matter. We're made of billions, in fact, trillions of cells. So how does electricity affect our cells? And that depends on the nature of the cell itself. Different cells have different properties. But our cell membranes react with the environment around them because of charge. And charge relates to electricity, creating of potential differences. So for instance, if we think about a protein receptor in the cell membrane, if it has two ends, which are one positive, one negative, then those attract and the information passes across the membrane. But if we have two ends the same, so let's say that we have the same type of fitting on this end. Let's see, another gadget. Always handy, an ACMOS cable. So in this case, the ends are the same. So if they were both positive, they would repel. If they're both negative, they would repel. But when they're different, and one is positive and one is negative, they attract. So when something comes along that fits the receptor on the cell membrane, and if that something is an ion, a charged particle, it changes the polarity so that the receptor on the inside is now a different polarity from the receptor on the outside. The protein in the cell wall bends and transports that substance across the cell wall. And then it resets itself when the substance is let go in the cell, because the charges are now the same again. And so we have the effect of repulsion, and so the protein straightens out again, ready to pick up the next passing molecule in the blood which fits its receptor. So this, Bruce Lipton did a wonderful example of this with a bendy tube. I couldn't find such a thing at short notice, but Biology of Belief, a wonderful book by Bruce Lipton, introducing us to the possibility of changing things in our environments to change things in our cells. Now, polarity as a concept within organs and within the animal kingdom produces some interesting stories, because we have some creatures who have evolved down a different path from humans. Newts and salamanders can grow new limbs. If a limb is amputated, then they grow another limb. And the polarity is important. Whether the stump or the bud of the new limb that's growing is a particular polarity at a particular day along the growth cycle will determine whether a front limb or a back limb is grown. That's really fascinating to know that just by changing the electrical signaling, we can create a dramatic difference in form. And so the reference book for this is The Body Electric by Robert Becker and Gary Selden. So another really interesting read if you're interested in electricity in the body. So given that, somewhere back in eons, in the dawn of time, we had the possibility for our cells to specialize into any type of tissue. And to remember that, what we're going to do today is a little visualization, because we all started from one cell. We're now this mass of many different types of cells. They've specialized and specialized and specialized over our lifetimes. But a great deal of that specialization happens when we're developing as an embryo. So what I'd like you to do is we're going to use our posture, and we're going to move from the head, because as we are born, our head comes out the birth canal and lifts up, and we get the secondary curve in our neck. And then as little babies, we sort of sit like that, if we can sit at all, until such time as we develop the lumbar curve, the secondary curve in the low back. And so this curve allows us to be upright in our sitting posture. And from there, we go on to develop all sorts of motion. But that development, if we reverse it in our little visualization and take ourselves back to that single cell. So I'd just like you to allow your heads to drop forwards. And as your head drops forwards, to allow your spine to bend and your tummy to sink towards the spine. To picture yourself becoming smaller as you curl inwards down towards the chest region with the head and bringing the ribs towards the pelvis. And if you can, bringing your toes onto tiptoes so that the knees come nearer to the chest. The arms coming in from the sides. Visualizing yourself becoming smaller and smaller and rounder and more compact and more compact. And then just settle yourself in a comfortable position. You don't have to stay in that position, but in your visualization, in your mind, staying in that rounded position. Thinking then of imagining a fetus in the amniotic sac. It may be moving before your eyes. You can see its fingers like little stumps, not fully formed yet. And as you watch, those finger stumps are shrinking. Toes are shrinking and the facial features becoming a bit less clear. Feeling the darkness, the warmth around you, the pressure and the presence of your mother. The reassuring rhythmic heartbeat that lets you know that your mother is near. Now you're becoming more spherical in nature, a ball of cells. Those cells take up less space, but as they take up less space, there's less of a cluster of cells. Going down, there's 64 cells, 32 cells, 16 cells, 8 cells, 4 cells, 2 cells, and finally that one single cell from which our being came. That cell filled with all the possibilities that came into life with you. Going further back to the moment of conception, where the sperm cell from your father met the egg from your mother. The cell membrane was able to depolarize enough to allow that single cell, the head of the sperm, to come through. The 2 sets or coils of DNA meet. A single strand from your mother with a single strand from your father, and a new life form was created. The infinite possibilities of the lifetime ahead. Imagine at that point of those gametes meeting, spark of light or energy, allowing life to begin. Your cells now, your cells dividing in 2, into 4, into 6, into 8, into 16, into 32 and 64. Now a ball of cells becoming bigger. Somehow within that ball of cells, a few cells begin to beat, beating as the heart, at its embryonic stage, pulse of life. In order for the heart to beat, there's an electrical discharge throughout the organ. In order for those cells, those embryonic cells to beat, something changed the charge with each beat. Forming now like a tadpole shape. Growing bigger, becoming recognizable, the shape of a human fetus. Big head, spine like a tail, small limbs budding and growing out, arms growing straight outwards from the limb buds, even though there's not much space and they need to fold. Their energy system, the meridians follow the growth of those limb buds straight outwards. Our legs growing out from the limb buds near the pelvis, unfurling, rotating as they grow. Something is giving us a pattern of our parents' information combined with our energy. Getting bigger and bigger, feeling the tension of your mother's abdomen around you. Safe. Space you're in is dark and warm. Beating of her heart ever nearer as it resounds around that full abdominal cavity. Feeling that pressure and tightness contracting around you, signifying a transition, a time of change. Your head tips right down towards the birth canal. The neck extending as you come through that canal, and everything else just following through. The world is now light and bright. The connection with your mother is clamped and then severed. The world is a different place now. It may not feel as safe in those moments until you are handed back into your mother's arms. Head against the breast, hearing the heartbeat once again. Not everyone has a direct relationship with the mother. Sometimes that relationship is fractured after that birth. And so imagining yourself as a baby in your arms, looking down at that baby and wondering at all the electrical changes and pulses and twitches and activity that's happening inside that small, seemingly helpless creature, already built of billions of cells. As your baby grows, it develops its curve where it can hold its head up. And then its secondary curve so that it can sit, pushing up through the legs so that it can stand, coming back into yourself, opening your chest, breathing deeply, opening your arms. Take forwards with you all those possibilities from when you were first conceived to when you were first born, to when you grew, you tried different things, you tried different paths in your life. Those paths don't always work out. Take yourself back to a reset point and get back in touch with the spark of light that is uniquely you. Embrace that light into the center of yourself. Take it into your heart, nurture it, love it, care for it, because that spark of light is you. Feel now the energy and the warmth and the heat around you as you fill more than the space that your body contains. That resonance and radiance spreading out. Your beings of light, allowing that light to spread. Taking a few moments, if you're watching this on replay, you can hit pause and just stay with the meditation for a bit longer. We are just going to come in to ourselves again. Smile to ourselves. Allow that smile to spread from our heart all the way out through every single one of our cells, renewed and reinvigorated with the light and the information that we came into life with and that we share with ourselves now. The sound of the fire element, allowing us to radiate throughout our bodies. Coming back into yourselves now. And join me tomorrow as we talk about the nervous system and the bioelectricity of the nervous system and how we can influence that.